Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome to 90 Day Fiancé latest news. Every life has times when the air changes, when time bends beneath the weight of something too big to name, too sudden to become ready for. Events when the world slows down and everything you believed about love, family, and identity changes. For Chantel Everett, that moment arrived in agony rather than the break of a relationship or the sting of public betrayal. Quiet, sneaky, undetectable suffering. Pain that started as a whisper under her skin evolved into something that would stop her world. This does not depict heartbreak. This relates to the body's narrative of what occurs when a woman who has borne too much, emotionally, physically, spiritually, at last starts to fall apart. And of how, in that breaking, something deeper, resilience, reckoning, and a sort of healing only found in fire is revealed. It started months before anyone ever saw. Ever calm and always camera-ready, Chantel glided through her days with grace and clarity. In interviews, she wore a smile. She consoled others. She gave nothing away, filmed confessals, and posed for pictures. Still, something was amiss behind her brilliant eyes. Her body started to rebel from previously great dependability and strength. It started softly, an intestinal pull in her belly. After long shifts, a dull discomfort. Tiredness for which sleep was inadequate. She shrugged it off. She had no time for frailty. Not in her family, not in her profession, nor with the world observing. She had weathered the fall-off in her marriage. She had put up with stranger criticism. From the wreckage of sadness, she had rebuilt herself and come across with grace. Pain was only one more difficulty. She thought it would go by. It did not, though. The misery changed as the weeks stretched into months. Mild tension turned quickly into intense, piercing pain. She battled to stand straight on some days. Nights when she curled in the fetal position, silent, terrified to move. She lay awake. She still said nothing, though. She continued to labor. Kept up performance. Because acknowledging weakness felt hazardous, much as admitting loss. Her body then let go one morning. Chantel alone fell in her restroom. Her abdomen hurt like fire, shooting through her chest, down her legs, snatching her air. She shook, heart thumping, sweated from her forehead crawling to her phone. She mute when the ambulance showed up. She prayed they would understand by merely pointing to her stomach. Doctors in the hospital worked fast. Blood work, imaging, physical examination tools. She stopped, a patient now, not the nurse. Her mind flew with unspoken queries. The diagnosis finally arrived as well. A major defect in the abdomen wall. Years of emotional stress, cortisol excess, and physical strain had probably weakened and split the muscles under her stomach. The inside systems designed to keep her body together were failing. Her organs were intact, but the walls around them were disintegrating. Not cancer. It was not deadly. Still, it was significant. Should treatment be neglected, it would get worse. Plastic surgery was no more a choice. It was obligatory. The words sounded to her like thunder. You have to get surgery. Not for looks. Not for improvement. For survival, however. A storm of feeling was building outside her hospital room, not of weather. Karen Everett had always burned brightly. Raw. Terrified. Her love was a natural energy with protective, territorial, uncompromising quality. She had seen the weight of public life betray, devaluate, and break her daughter. Karen had also screamed through it all, defending, challenging, never backtracking. This was unique, though. This man had not offended her daughter. The body of her daughter was turning against her. Something inside Karen shattered when she saw Chantel curled in that hospital bed, pallid, hooked to machines, tired. Earlier on national television, the mother who had promised to gather people in defense of her children now froze. She had earlier addressed entire households. Her hands shook. Her knees collapsed. At last, the unbeatable mother had faced an adversary she was unable to defeat. She went from the room silently, straight along the corridor, into the staircases, and then she dropped to the ground and started to cry out of sight. Deep, trembles tearing from her like thunder. She cried for years she hadn't seen it, as well as for the suffering her daughter was experiencing. For the load Chantel had silently carried. Not realizing that strength was the very thing separating her, she had advised her daughter to stay strong. Every time. Seeing your child suffer causes a certain type of suffering that wraps around your ribs and crushes all you are. For all her grit, Karen Everett was still simply a mother. She was not powerful at that moment either. She fell apart. She also said the same words over and again in that stairway, distant from cameras, far from producers and storylines. Kindly, please help me not to lose her. The surgical team started their activities inside the OR. The operation would take several hours and be delicate, sophisticated, exact. They would restore Chantel's abdominal wall with mesh reinforcement and muscle rebuilding. She would be piecemeal stitched back together. No scalpel, though, could restore what had been taken from her. Years of self-denial. The toll of simply carrying suffering. The trauma of smiling through suffering. More than medicine, these wounds would call for time, grace, and a readiness to be vulnerable would be even more unusual requirements. And vulnerability, for Chantel Everett, had never been safe. Early on, she had discovered that showing pain invited criticism. To be very emotional would have been to be labeled as unstable. To fail in public turned into a meme. She had thus created the ideal armor, with composure, irony, intelligence, attractiveness. It had shielded her up to now. Her mother was with her when she woke up following surgery. Quiet, clutching her hand. No language fit what they had both gone through. Just a gentle knowledge. Chantel recovered slowly in the next days. Every movement was a pain-based negotiations. Simple chores like sitting up, deep breathing, walking were mountains to ascend. Still, with every stride she started to recover agency, something she hadn't felt in years. Because healing goes beyond the body. It has to do with authorization. Author permission to relax. Permission to request assistance. Authorization to stop being everything to everyone. And for the first time, Chantel surrendered that to herself. Too changed Karen was. She became softer. Her wrath gave way to loyalty. She read to Chantel, brushed her hair, changed pillows, sung old hymns under her breath for hours at her side. Once a barker, the woman orders at producers now softly murmurs encouragement in the softest voice her daughter has ever heard. And mother and daughter developed something different for one other in those long, silent days of healing. Not just shielded but also guardian. Not only water and fire, also ice. But two women limited by blood, by love, by the rawness of survival. Weeks went by while the scars started to heal. The swell-through vanished. Strength was returned. More significantly, though, Chantel started to see herself differently. She was more than just a public personage now. More than just a nurse now. Not only the ex-wife, the beauty queen, the pillar of a world empire. She was something more, something deeper. A lady who had been shattered. Not only by circumstance but also by the invisible expectations she had carried for so long. And who had survived. Not in spite of her fragility, but due of it. She started talking softly at first about the incident. Regarding suffering. About the risk associated with quiet. Regarding the way women are taught to bear till they pass out. And others listened. Not based on her television persona, but rather on the honesty she conveyed in her voice. Additionally, Karen? She evolved as well. She discovered that strength does not always equate to loudest room behavior. Sometimes the greatest thing a mother can do is just sit next to her daughter and create space. No fixing. Not authoritative. Just by virtue of being present. Their families started to come together after drama tore it apart. One after the other. Not with an eye toward a plot. Not with a camera in mind. Nonetheless for Chantel. For recovery. For passion. And something fresh blossomed inside Chantel when she stood on her own 2 feet once more in those last days of rehabilitation. Not the version of herself from years past. Not the image the society expected. But a softer power. A more complete voice. A woman who had come out not unburned, but rather rebuilt after walking across fire. This is what occurs when we break apart. Piecemeal, not all at once. We start to grow more human. More here right now. More accurate. And in that truth beauty exists. The tale of Chantel Everett is not ending here. A fresh one is just starting here. A narrative not driven by drama, or created by writers or producers. Nevertheless, written by her own flesh. Her personal suffering. Her personal will. This marks her rebirth. And every one of us serves as a witness. This gossip is over. If you liked the video, then give your opinion in the comment box and stay with us by subscribing the channel. Thank you.